Hello and welcome to another build guide video. So for today, I have the Fire Sorcerer, who is just going to blow things up. I mean, he is just an absolute nuke. You can invest so many resources into a single fight and just be able to get through a fight a lot easier than you would otherwise. Also, with the honor mode being out, he's really good because haste has a lot less value for the melee and physical characters because they only get one extra attack, whereas a sorcerer would still get an extra spell. So he is a very high value target for haste. Also, with his high charisma, he's a great main character. So without further ado, let's get into the build. So let's hop into the build here. So obviously we're selecting sorcerer. For cantrips, really choose whatever you want. Friends is really good if you're going to be the main character. And that's what I'm assuming, because you can see we've got that 17 charisma. So we're going to throw a Hag's Hair into it if we can. Fireball, Bone Chill, Light, they're all great options. You could also get Shocking Grasp. Really just choose what you want here. For my two spells, I'm going to go Magic Missile and Shield. I like Magic Missile because you don't have to roll to hit, and then Shield is just an extra way to keep yourself safe. Chromatic Orb and Burning Hands are two other great options here. Also the Expeditious Retreat, Feather Fall, and Enhanced Leap for all the CC and stuff. Not CC, the utility that they give you. So then let's go ahead and go into our subclass. It's Draconic Bloodline. And we're going to choose either gold or red. Doesn't matter. It's really dealer's choice. And the only difference is the aesthetic and the spell that you're going to get. You're going to get Burning Hands or Disguise Self. Either one's fine. For your ability scores, you want them to look something like this. The only things that are important is that your charisma is 17. If you're going to go with the Hag's Hair, you can then upgrade that to 18 with Hag's Hair, and then you only have to put one ASI feat into it. You feel free to change the rest of these around however you want. I just like having high con as well, just to maintain saving throws and concentration and extra HP. If you aren't going to use the Hag's Hair, what I would recommend at that point in time is you maybe drop charisma down one, because you're not going to be able to get it up to the max level there. And then let's say maybe you just want to put some more points into wisdom at that point in time, right? Because we don't need dexterity because we're wearing the heavy armor. And so maybe you put points into constitution and wisdom, and that'll give you a more rounded out thing. You'll be able to throw your points into charisma and then pick up spell sniper. So you'll be doing a little bit less damage without the Hag's Hair, but it's not a real big deal. Okay, and then for skills, really just choose whatever you want. I'm a big fan of persuasion, intimidation, deception, especially again if this is my main character. I have friends, I definitely want to do a lot of those things. All right, so let's get into the level up process here. So it's very simple for this build. We're just gonna be leveling up straight through sorcerer. So I'm just gonna go through fairly quickly and give you some recommendations on spells that work well with the build. All right, so my first spell that I want to pick up is Chromatic Orb. Big fan of it. Burning Hands is also really good, but I like to keep my distance. And then for spells, I'm going to pick up Distant and Twin. Twin is really good, especially for Chromatic Orb. So if you ever want to throw out a Chromatic Orb, or if you want to just start relying more on your cantrips, like say you don't want to use any spells, Twin spell's really good. Only cost you one sorcery point, and it allows you to hit 2 different people with a cantrip. And if you're wearing the necklace, that adds your charisma bonus to cantrips that do fire, acid, lightning, or cold, then it starts doing a little bit extra damage as well. I really like Distant Spell as well, because you can sneak up from outside of their vision range and open up with a volley being unseen, which will give you advantage before you have the risky ring. Really nice stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and continue leveling up here. Level 3. Okay, so we're going to get some more spell slots. We're going to get access to level 2 spells, and that's where we're going to get our bread and butter Scorching Ray. This thing is just going to carry you through the entire game. So also for class passives, now we're going to pick up Quicken Spell. Quicken Spell is fantastic. It'll allow you to, when you're hasted, you'll be able to cast 3 different Scorching Rays, and you can just start doing massive amounts of damage. You can see if you're just level 2, we're casting 3 different Scorching Rays. Yes, it's a big investment, I understand, but that's 18d6. And eventually you'll be re-rolling 1s and maybe 2s, depending on how the item interactions works. All right, so we hit level 4 here. So we are going to get our first feat and get another cantrip. I'm a big fan of Shocking Grasp, just so we can free ourselves if we really need to do something else. And for spells, big fan of Hold Person here, especially when we're stacking up Arcane Acuity. Almost guarantees that we can hold people later. And then we'll go to feat. We're going to do, like I said, the first ASI, and this should put you to 20 Charisma with the Hag's Hair. Again, the Hag's Hair is not required for this build, but it is pretty useful. Alright, so level 5, we'll have access to 3rd level spells. We're obviously going to pick up Fireball. We want Haste as well. So we could pop out one of these spells and pick up Haste, but we'll pick it up naturally as we go. It's not a big deal. But if you wanted to do this, as you were leveling, you could look into doing this. I, again, don't really recommend leveling this way, but it is pretty cool. For level 6, we're going to pick up another sorcery point again. And like I said, here's where we pick up Haste. We're again also going to want Counterspell, but we'll pick up more spells as we're going. The 3rd level spells are just so good for Sorcerer and Lizard. Alright, level 7 gives us access to 4th level spells. And honestly, I'm not a huge fan of a lot of these 4th level spells. We will grab Wall of Fire though, because it's on brand. So we'll pick that up and kind of continue on from there. Alright, hitting level 8. There's not anything that I really want here. We've got our Wall of Fire for that, so I'm going to just go and pick up Counterspell for a little bit of utility and to keep myself from getting CC'd, especially with the Risky Ring and having disadvantage on all my saving throws. So we're going to go into a feat option here. And this is where we're going to select, where is it at? Spell Sniper. You can pretty much pick up any spell you want. I'm a big fan of just picking up Eldritch Blast because there's a lot of cool interactions with it. If you wanted to, you could wear the potent or the portent robe, and then you'd be able to add your charisma bonus to your Eldritch Blast as well. So that would give you some really cool options for when you cannot use fire damage on an enemy. It might even be worth dipping 2 points into Warlock, and then you're adding your charisma bonus twice to the Eldritch Blast. It's not really required. Your spell gloves will also be able to trigger with this as well. So you could shoot off a searing, searing beam at someone else, and then you've got a crazy high spell save or bonus to your attack roll, and you can fire off an Eldritch Blast the next turn, and they're still going to do 1d10 plus 1d8 because the spell might gloves per shot, and you're still adding your charisma bonus to it, which is pretty solid with the robe. Even if you don't have the charisma bonus, it's still going to do fantastic damage. Alright, level 9. So level 9 gives us access to our 5th level spells. I'm a big fan of Hold Monster for the same reason earlier. And you'll see that once you start stacking up that Arcane Acuity, Hold Monster works every time pretty much. Okie dokie, get another cantrip at level 10. Again, this is dealer's choice, really whatever you want. We got Minor Illusion, get them all grouped up for us. Alright, and then you get access to another spell. At this point in time, you're really just dealer's choice at this point in time. Dominate Person's really fun. Again, you'll have a high spell save DC. I like the option of Cloud Kill. It just gives me something different to do other than fire damage. And at this point in time, we get access to another spell. So if you have buddies that like to run into the combat, maybe pick up Careful Spell here. I'm not a extended's fine, it is what it is. Heighten would be cool, but most of the time it doesn't do a ton for us. If you're finding that you can't guarantee Hold Monster, maybe you pick up Heighten Spell, but I mean it should be pretty much guaranteed. I'm a big fan of Subtle Spell, so that's what I'm going to take here. There's a lot of different things that silence in this game. So that being said, if you're getting silenced, you can still cast spells with this. Cost a little more sorcery points, but there's ways to get them and be able to do a lot in certain fights. Alright, hitting level 11, we now have Fly. Alright, and we're also going to pick up a level spell here. My favorite is Globe of Vulnerability. Already have enough damage, don't care about these damage spells as much. But Globe of Invulnerability lets me place it down, and then we can't take damage while the enemies come towards us. We're just blasting them. They can't do anything to us unless they bounce us out of this or cause me to cancel my concentration. Looking back at some of the other things, this is probably one of the only spells I'd like to extend as well. So you could maybe do an extended spell, Globe of Invulnerability. It lasts 6 turns. That's pretty nasty as well. All right, and then for our final level, our blast feat's kind of flexible. Kind of is what it is. For our spells, we're gonna go ahead and pick up Disintegrate for those guys that don't take any fire damage, and but Telekinesis is again another really good option. For our last feat, I'm a big fan of Elemental Adept here. So it'll allow us to make it to where we cannot roll a 1 on our damage, which is pretty cool. And then you know, we ignore resistance to fire damage, which is pretty nice as well. So let accept. All right, cool. So you see that's the final build. The character has 98 HP and quite a few little options here that you can do. All right, so let's dive into equipment here. So first off, we're going to start with the required stuff, and I'm going to basically put it in basically the order that you're going to get it in. So into Act 1, you'll be able to get Knife of the Undermountain King. So this is going to add +1 to your crit chance. And also when you roll 2 damage or less, reroll the dice taking the highest result. I'm not 100% sure if this works for the spells, but I do know with Elemental Adept, you're not going to be able to roll a 1. So it's pretty solid, and it looks like it might be working properly. We'll see. So then the next thing you want to get is the Risky Ring. So the Risky Ring is really good because it's giving you advantage on all your attack rolls. You don't have a really high chance to hit, so it'll help out with basically making sure that goes through. If you have someone else that you want to use it on, there's a non-crit based version of this that we can build, and I can show that to you guys later. The next item you'll be able to get is the Deadshot. The Deadshot's just purchased in Act 3. So Risky Ring again is purchased in Moonrise Tower. Deadshot is purchased in Act 3. The guy right next to Sorcer Sundry that sells weapons. I think it's a female dwarf. And then finally, for the last thing, is Bloodthirst. And you get that. It's doing part of the main story, killing Orc. So this will give you +1, 2, 3 to crit. You'll also have +1 from your feat that you took. So now you're at +4 to crit, which means you're hitting on 15s. Okay, so with you being able to crit on 15s and Risky Ring, you'll be able to re-roll it. So it's going to give you like a 43% chance to crit. So that's a pretty high chance. The next 2 required items for this build are the Spellmight Gloves. So these can be acquired by either doing the Clown quest, repairing the clown, or you could simply cast Darkness and pickpocket her if you don't want to go through all that. So you'll be able to get that at the beginning of Act 3 as well. And then finally, the Cat of Fire Acuity. Now, the Hat of Fire Acuity comes from the Strange Ox in the Last Light Inn. He's right behind Damon. So you'll be able to get that again pretty early on. So these are basically the required items for the build. Everything else is just extra money on top of that. So the way this is going to work is every time you hit, you'll be able to get Arcane Acuity. That gives you +1 to hit, +1 to your spell attacks and DC. So if you fire a level 2 Scorching Ray, that'll fire 3 times. That'll give you +6. So you basically need to fire a level 4 first, and that'll give you +10 to all your spell save and hit and DC. So that'll basically put it to where the only way you fail is a nat 1, and because you're wearing Risky Ring, you have to roll 2 nat 1s. So only 1 in 400 of your rays aren't going to hit at that point in time. Even against high level bosses. Obviously this won't work on stuff immune to it, but hey, is what it is, right? You got other things to do to get away with that, or you have other things you can do to fight things that are, I don't know what to say here. All right, so let's hop into some of the non-required items. So for Cloak, you got a couple different options. So we've got the Quest Cloak here for the Dirge, because that's who I was playing as. Cloak of Displacement's also really good. Elemental Absorption is really good. The best cloak that you can end up having is the Cloak of the Weave, because it's going to give you another +1 to hit, which will just help out with that opening volley of Scorching Ray. For gear, I'm wearing the Helldusk armor. I think it's very fitting to wear. We'll go ahead and toggle this over. The Helldusk armor kind of looks ridiculous as a wizard, but very much an evil wizard look. But the Helldusk armor is really good because it makes you immune to burning, okay? And that's really important, especially if you're going to do any self-burning. So if you end up using something like the Legendary Staff, basically you'll be able to heat yourself and use that as extra damage. It's not a bad little option as well. And then for my boots, I just went with Misty Step boots, and you can't slip on grease or ice. Great. I had a friend of mine doing a lot of ice spells, so it makes it hard to move around. And then for your final ring, I mean, there's tons of different options. You can do the healing ring. I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter. You could do the critical hit ring. It's a nice little thing. Invisibility, blur, really just whatever you want. You can also take the +1 to AC if you're standard in darkness and just make sure you're doing that at all times. You can see we've already got a 21 AC, which is pretty solid. So going up to 22 is even better. Cool. So that's it for the required gear on the crit based, and we'll hop into the gear for the if you don't want to go crit based here in a second. Okay, so here's how you want to play if you don't want to use the crit build. So instead of using the dead shot, you can use the bow at Act 2 that allows you to cast haste on yourself once per day. It's really nice. It also gives you resistance to fire and cold. The fire is going to be redundant, but it is what it is. If you've got Mark here, or however you say this, Legendary Staff, so basically you can turn on fire, and then you'd be able to wield the shield with it. Because I'm an orc, I don't have the ability. There's quite a few races that give you the ability, or you could just throw a 1-level dip into Sorcerer to pick that up, and you'd be able to drop the spell sniper feat, so it's not as important. And you wouldn't be required to wear the risky ring as well. You could be able to give that to someone else, so you can give the whole kind of crit package to another player, and let them run around with however they want to deal with that. But if you do have this, you'll notice it gives you an extra +1 to your spell save and DC and saving throws. Great. And then you really, so if you're using this, you really want to have the Helldusk armor on at that point in time, because if not, you'll burn yourself every time you cast. Really want to hit them. Feel bad. But you'll notice I have a 30% chance to hit this guy because he has an insane AC. So even with the risky ring on, I think it's still pretty low. Look at that, 51% chance to hit this guy. But we got a naked blaze cell over here we can hit. And that gives us a bunch of arcane acuity here. So if we enter turn-based mode, now look, we're up to 84% chance to hit the dude. So it starts going pretty good. And with this, actually here, let's do this. We didn't turn on fire. Turn on Flames of Wrath. Not react. Turn-based mode. Turn-based mode, so you can see we've got 10 stacks of arcane acuity now, and also 7 stacks of heat. And it's adding our charisma modifier and our proficiency to each one going through. He does have fire resistance as well. And on to the build showcase. Alrighty, so we have done something a little dirty here. So I cast haste on myself and stacked up arcane acuity last turn, and then I cast darkness in the middle to kind of protect everyone. So now that darkness has been cast, we can do all kinds of fun stuff. I'm a little worried they're going to try to dispel me, so I want to kind of fish that out with this. He's not concentrated or anything. Let's start with just hexing something. So he can see because he's got warlock levels. Okay. Looks like there's the first counterspell. And then we'll go ahead and cast... cast it here. Throw it right there. So it doesn't look like they have any more counter spells. So we'll end this turn. Alright, time to do some damage. So this, like I said, I stacked up the Arcane Acuity already. So we're going to go ahead and cast a Fireball. 5 or 6. Ooh. But a little more. Oh yeah, it's a nice Fireball. I guess a level 5 Fireball first. And as you can see, does quite a bit of damage. The spell save DC is pretty high. Looks like someone saved on it. Yeah, so this person succeeded on it. The DC was 25 and they rolled exactly 25. Doesn't really happen a lot, but every now and then it does happen. So we're going to go ahead and cast another Fireball. Higher rank, actually. What's the hell wrong with these guys? They're not too bad. Let's go ahead and cast them. One of you guys we can get rid of here. Alright, that's one side of the battlefield wrapped up. And then we're going to quicken a level 1 or level 2. And you'll see how much damage this thing still does. All the Arcane Acuity. Look at that, we did roll a nat 1. So, I want to show how... Oh, I don't even have the... So you can see I somehow still rolled the nat 1, and even with the risky ring. But that's it for the build video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.